Hello, friends. Welcome to this inaugural episode of Standpoint, a weekly show that brings you perspective on geopolitics, defense, and diplomacy. In this episode of Standpoint, we'll be discussing China Canada relations, China's influence operations inside Canada, and China's interference in Canada's domestic politics. As our inaugural guest, we have with us today Ms. Sheng Xue, a Chinese origin Canadian with deep knowledge about China and Canada relations. She has also been a victim of Chinese Communist Party's crackdown on pro-democracy movement within China, and she is a direct witness to the 1989 Tiananmen Square massacre on pro-democracy protesters. She and her family had to flee Communist China to save themselves, and she's also the co-founder and vice president of Canadian Coalition Against Communism and lives near Toronto in Canada. She will today tell us about China's influence and interference operations inside Canada and the Chinese pressure on Canadian politician and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to crack down on China's dissidents who live in Canada today or who have taken shelter in Canada today. Sheng, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me here.
It's a pleasure talking to you, Sheng. Let's dive deep into this question. So let's start with the Canadian Security Intelligence Services report, which came out recently, which talked about the Chinese interference in Canadian politics. So this report essentially talks about how China has been influencing and interfering in the political affairs of Canada. Please tell us, explain to us how China influenced election outcomes, say, in favor of the Liberal Party, which is Justin Trudeau's party, including some funding of some politicians during the elections, and what all happened during the 2019 and 2021 elections in this regard that the CSIS report talks about.
Yes, actually, the Chinese influence in Canadians' election was first reported by Global and Mail, was on November 7th last year. And only from there that the public was aware of this. It was an officer from the CSIS that he secretly told this to Global Mail. And I read his article that he explaining why he was decided to tell this. He said, why I blow the whistle on Chinese interference in Canada's elections. And he said, because he knew that the Chinese Communist Party has been doing this for a long time in Canada. And because of his deep love of the country of Canada, and he feel he has responsibility. And of course, because he saw that our government didn't take any action. So he decided to tell the media. And the CCP agents, they used $250,000, and 11 MP candidates received the money. When I saw this news, I was so sad, because everybody knows that the corruption in China is very, very serious. And for those high-ranking officials, they normally corrupt of like tens of millions, even hundreds of millions, and even billions, tens of billions, and 250,000 Canadian dollars could influence or even buy so many Canadian politicians. That is so scared, right? And what about if the Chinese government, they use more money? Will that be more Canadian politicians being But this is so scary and so sad. And you asked me, why does the CCP help Trudeau and the Liberal Party? This is a long story that I need to go back to Justin Trudeau's father, because I studied and I researched of his history, because I knew he was communism believer, but I didn't know why he didn't join with the Communist Party of Canada, which was founded in 1921, the same year of the Chinese Communist Party. And the Liberal was founded in 1873. So Justin Trudeau's father, Pierre Trudeau, he was invited to go to China to visit in 1960s, that he stayed there for 32 days, and he wrote a book, Two Innocents in Right China. This book very highly praised that the development under the Chinese communist rule. It was affected so many intellectuals from West to believe, to trust, and to support Chinese communists. And when he was becoming the Prime Minister of Canada in 1968, he immediately working on to establish the official relationship with Communist China. That was settled down in 1970. Of course, it was earlier, before a lot of democratic countries. And we know that United States then had to follow this trend to establish the official relationship with Communist China in 1979. And Justin Trudeau so much influenced, so much followed his father. And the Chinese government, the Chinese communists, they know this very well too. And I came to Canada right after the Tiananmen massacre in 1989, and arrived here in the late evening, at night of August 20th of 1989, and so I have been living here from 1989 to now is more than 34 years, and Liberal was in power from 1993 to 2006, the last term. That was 13 years. That was pretty long. And because of the Liberal support, especially support the economic growth in China, and also decided to change what they said is to have a dialogue instead of to have the conflicts. So everything was changed after the Tiananmen massacre during the Liberal was in power. And in those period of time was the Chinese economic growth, and to gain a lot of potential influence around the world, of course, in Canada as well too. And even many Chinese immigrants here, they joined with the Liberal Party because Chinese government looking for more and more agents. And even my close friends, they join with the Liberal Party. They think that the Liberal Party is in power and that they could have a lot of benefits from them. And the Prime Minister at that time was Chrétien. Chrétien proudly announced when he was resigned from his position that he said, during his term of 10 years in power, that he led giant Canadian diplomats and politicians and business people to China for 18 times. And so that was the whole environment. And also, Chinese government, they tried their best to find people, to find agents that who could work for them. They find people from all areas, not only from people who are involved in the political areas, from all fields.
Right. I understand. Okay. Tell our viewers what is the CSIS, which is the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, and why is its report so important?
Sorry, can you please repeat your
If you could
question?
just explain to our viewers what is this CSIS? What is the role played by CSIS in Canada? What sort of an agency it is? And why is this report from CSIS on China's interference in Canadian politics so important?
Yeah, CSIS is the intelligence service of Canada. So they have the duty to monitor people who are in Canada act illegally and who wants to interference our country, our system, our government, our politicians.
It is basically an internal security agency, isn't it? Canadian Internal Security Agency. Okay. And why is this report very important from the CSIS? What does it say? What does the report say?
Yeah, actually, they said that they have evidence, and I'm sorry, because 我在一个这个采访当中，我晚一点给您回复啊。Yes, and actually, CSIS, we call it CSIS. CSIS, they talked with me since 1990s because I have been very active, and then I was monitored and I was harassed by the Chinese government and their agents here. So I have this knowledge about what they are doing, and they do have responsibility to protect our country. And the information that they collected and come to the report, the documents, and they send in to our Prime Minister's office and give to the cabinet's ministers. But Trudeau didn't take any action until the officer from CSIS that released this information to media. Then he had to deal with the public doubts. And a lot of people were very, very angry because this is so serious. And this is that something, attack on our system. And even people went on to the street to demonstrate and ask Trudeau to resign from his position, of course. And people even have the banner said, China elected Trudeau. Because from the report that said China want to make sure Liberal is going to be continually in power. That means the Chinese communists happily to have him in power in Canada. And also they want the agents in Canada to defeat some candidates to make sure they won't be elected. And even the Chinese consulate in Vancouver, they said they did this successfully, and they defeated the candidates from conservative didn't been re-elected. So it is affected to our political system, and it means that our country's the whole base being attacked. This is a very serious thing. And he was even keeping silence for so long. This was unacceptable. And then people asking to have inquiry of if Canada need to have a law that for the foreign agents registration law. He seemingly that not happy with this either. So this take a lot of time to discuss and to debate and to, for media to do interview. Then now I received an email last week that they are contacting me to ask my questions, to ask my opinions, and if this need to be in a process. So yeah, it's this is in Canada because of a lot of pressure from people. Then the government and also the departments, they need to move forward. What about if this is in China? Of course, whatever. If you criticize the government, then you will be disappeared.
Yes. So, in fact, for the information of our viewers, this CSIS. Yeah. So, one of the analysts who had done this analysis of Chinese influence operation, his name is Dennis Molinaro. In fact, he resigned from as an analyst in CSIS, because Justin Trudeau did not take any action on the report for a very long time. And it he mentioned that he was quite frustrated by the inaction by the Justin Trudeau government. So, in fact, only after the publication of the report in the global news did Justin Trudeau start acting on it. In fact, based on the information that was provided.
The first report was Globe and Mail, the newspaper.
And then
7 last year. Yeah.
Correct. So with that, let us also discuss about the Chinese diplomats who are in Canada.
I want to add something because I saw that our the opposition leader of the conservative, Pierre Poilievre, he said something is very interesting. He said in a TV interview, he said Justin Trudeau knew about this interference and he covered it up because he benefited from it. And he said, he told the media, he said that Trudeau, he's perfectly happy to let foreign authoritarian government interfere in our elections as long as they are helping him. So this is something that I was thinking, if a leader of a democratic country are happily being helped by a communist foreign power, that is something, he's doing a lot of things and favors to the government overseas, favors to a dictatorship. I remember something in November. Yeah, that was in November of 2013. Actually, that was before Trudeau was become of the prime minister in Canada. He was the leader of Liberal Party, and that was in those years that conservative was in power, and he praised the Chinese dictatorship, that he said he favors the Chinese dictatorship. So people were shocked. And I immediately called for a press conference. And I asked from the Tibetan community, Uyghurs, and the Falun Gong practitioners, and Korean, and also our overseas Chinese democracy movement. We had a media conference, and we demand apology from him. And also then we had a hearing in Ottawa. We asked him to attend because we want to introduce him the situation in China. And also we want to introduce him some representatives of the victims from China and even their children. He did nothing. He ignored all of those. So even I didn't believe that he would be elected as the prime minister in Canada. But
Right.
you know the system in Canada, that because of Liberal was majority party was elected into the Congress, then he became the prime minister of Canada.
Interesting, interesting. Also, there was this report which said that Chinese diplomats and some Chinese businessmen, some billionaire businessmen of Chinese origin, they were also involved in trapping Canadian politicians in this, entire influence and interference operation that they did. And it was through the businessmen that the money was paid to politicians for their election funding and for talking in favor of China and all that. So, what do you have on that? What is that your research show on that?
The Chinese government has been trying this for decades, even before, actually they sent out people even before their power was established in China, because the international communism, they work very collaboratively. And they have their people, their network in democratic countries for many years. And China, especially after the Tiananmen massacre, they want to get out from the shadow from the massacre. So they tried so hard to establish their network in Canada. And then Canada opened for immigration from China. So Chinese people come here in a very large amount. Now is 1.8 million Chinese people in Canada. So they hire people from all the field, from all the areas. And also why people are willing to work for them. If people come from China, everybody, they have their family left behind, their parents or even their children, or they have their family ties. Then if you refuse, then they will go to your family in China. And if you do anything that they are not happy, then when you go back to China to visit, they will punish you. And so many people then aware of this kind of situation. And we all know that Chinese government have their people here monitoring the whole community. So then this kind of fear grows everywhere. And people from not only from the Chinese organizations. It's very easy to control people from the local Chinese organizations, because the leaders and even they receive funding from the Chinese consulates, and also from some academic people and the media people and the international students. And you probably heard about that. The Chinese government holds the global Chinese media conference in China, from 20 years ago. And they spend a lot of money to invite media people around the world to go to China to attend this event, and they reimbursed your travel tickets, and they take care of your hotels and the food, and also they plan for your travel in China after the event for a week and 2 weeks, and then they gave you gifts and money. Even some of my friends here in Canada, they joined this delegation, this visit to China, and then I felt that they feel embarrassing if they say something bad or not nice about China, because they feel that they already, take money. And in Chinese, there is 吃别人的嘴软，拿别人的手短 means that if you eat the food that they provided to you, you feel shame if you say something bad about them, right? And this was one of the example. And another one is even more crazy, because in many years, people in Canada could spend $99. People could spend $99 to purchase an air ticket to go to China for 7 days or 8 days or even 10 days travel, including 4 stars, 5 stars hotel, and 3 meals per day, and also the visit to a lot of historical sites. Do you believe? Because Chinese government, they just want to attract people to come to China. Then they have this potential, they have this kind of chance to talk to you and to deal with you. And if anyone that they think that is useful for them, then they can bribe you. So they spend so much money and so much energy, so much source on this. Many people, I can say this, many people are influenced, and even a lot of people willing to help with this, because especially for people who come from China, they know that their home is in China, their parents in China, and they make money from this, and they even feel that they are, successful people if they are being treated nicely by the Communist Party.
Right. So this report also talks about how Chinese diplomats interfered in the elections by asking, say, one of the Chinese billionaires called as Zhang Bin. He was a political advisor to the government in Beijing, and
You
he
know
was
that,
asked,
yes.
yeah, he was asked to donate $1 million to Pierre Elliott
To
Trudeau's
Trudeau's
foundation,
foundation.
which is in the name of Justin Trudeau's father,
Yeah.
in view of the 2015 elections. So that money was being used for, ensuring that the Liberal Party wins the election continuously. And also there was this another businessman named Nguyen Xing, uh, yeah, who also donated about $1 million in the memory and the of Pierre Trudeau. So these are all some of the incidents where Chinese diplomats ask Chinese businessmen to donate money to the Liberal Party through the Pierre Trudeau Foundation. So that is a very interesting information that came out of that report. So I also want to ask you about this. There have been reports from Canada saying that there have been crackdown by the Canadian government on Chinese nationals, Chinese dissidents who are currently living in Canada uh, due to the pressure exerted by Xi Jinping's government on Justin Trudeau saying that I'll give you trade, I'll give you support and all that, and you crack down on the Chinese dissidents, don't allow them to do any activism against anti-CCP activism. Don't allow them to do it. So, and there are also police stations inside Canada, Chinese police stations operating inside Canada. Could you tell us more about these two incidents where the Chinese dissidents are cracked down upon and probably even handed over to China to be tried and imprisoned inside China, and also how the police stations operate inside Canada?
Mhm. Yeah, there are about 50 Chinese police stations around the world. And basically, a lot of country and major cities that they will have one. It's interesting that Toronto has three of them. And there is one in Vancouver and another one in Montreal. So we have five in Canada. And because they have their very strong and complete network here. And even I was asking people why we have three the Chinese police station in Toronto. And my friend said one is not enough for them to compete because the Chinese the Chinese community people, they even try to compete to each other to serve the Chinese communists in Canada. So they want to show their loyalty to the Chinese communists. So they ask for the chance to work for them. So-called the Chinese police station is that they have this direct relations and to take the orders from Chinese central, from the Chinese National Security Department and to operate here. And they, of course, is a big warning to everybody, not only Chinese here. When people learn about this, everybody will be acting much more behaved because nobody want to be followed by the Chinese agents. Nobody want to report it by the Chinese agents here. And then one day you are going to be in danger. And especially for people who has a relationship with China, even for people who need to visit China, then you feel that you are in a great danger. So the Chinese police stations here, it is a sign of the strong action. We call the Chinese overseas actions. Sometimes we call them like act as wolves, very strong and very aggressive. And I received a phone call from Montreal, a student from China, and he wanted to go back to China to take his wife and the child to come to Canada to reunion with his family. He called me many times. He called me maybe 7-8 times, and he discussed with me what he can do to ensure his safety when he go back to China. So I said, what do you do here? And what you did for you to have this kind of nervous? And he said, when the pandemic started, I call it the China virus. When it started, then because his family is in Wuhan, we call it a Wuhan virus. And then he posted some information about this virus news and into WeChat groups. Then he was called by a Chinese leader in his society, asking why he was doing this, and threatened him that he will be reported. Then you see, from 2020 until now, he is still very nervous, very frightened, and even he is not dare to go back to China to take his wife and a child to come to Canada. So this is a deep influence and threatening to our country and our community. And then they establish even further networks to occupy old areas, maybe not exactly to ask people to work for them directly, but they want to make sure that everybody knows they are here. And then you will have the censorship. You know that what you cannot see, what you cannot do. For example, the FDC, the Federation for a Democratic Canada, we just had a annual election on November 11. We have 22 members to attend our annual election. When we was established on February of 1990, that was, 33 years ago, we only had 27 members. And after decades, we still have a very small amount of people dare to join us, because everybody, you could be a target by the Chinese Communist power. And everybody, they worry about their family being punished in China. We have a lot of this kind of examples. And even people only stays here, don't go back to China. Like I tried to go back to China in 1996, and I was arrested at airport, and I was interrogated for 24 hours and sent back to Canada because I was already holding a Canadian passport. And also in the 90s, that the Chinese communists were not as strong as today. If I go back to China now, many people said that you won't be able to come back to Canada. I do believe that. And even they tried to attract me, they tried to plan for me to go to Southeast Asia's country, to Thailand. And they want to arrest me there. So for people, when you only think about your safety or your family members, your parents, your kids, that you will decide to give it up. Because this is a long time fight. It's not one battle. It's thousands or even millions of battles among this fight. So people not dare to join us because everybody knows this is a very serious and a very dangerous decision. But the people are willing to join those organizations and communities that favor to the Chinese government, because they feel that Canada won't do nothing about this, right? And then China will give you a lot of benefits. So probably registered the Chinese organization may be more than 1,000 in Canada.
Thank you, Sheng, for your time and for giving us this insights into the China's influence operations and interference in Canadian politics. It's been a wonderful session. Thank you very much for that. And for our viewers, I want to thank you for watching Standpoint. I also urge you and request you to subscribe to this channel and also to press the bell icon so that you can continue to get our program alerts. We'll do a weekly show on this Standpoint from here on, and I want to deal with as many subjects as possible. And I also request you to post your comments on this interview with Sheng Xue and tell us what you think of these remarks that she made today, and also request you to post your ideas for future events, what you want to hear, what are the issues that you want us to cover. If you could post us on the comment section, we will follow it up and do the show according to your requirements. And it's a promise from me, NC Bipindra. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much.